Thanks for hanging in here and staying till the end. It's always the hardest to do cleanup, but hopefully you guys had a good last 2 days. I always say this is one of these events that we all look forward to as speakers here. I think there's a lot of events that as a speaker you fly in and fly out. These are the rare ones where a lot of times we'll fly in because we want to hear a lot of the speakers here. So I always say make sure you thank the team here, because we do a big event like this once every 2 years, and it's a complete pain in the ass to do this. I can't imagine doing 3 or 4 of these a year like they do, and they do an amazing job. So make sure you let them know, because we all appreciate it. So I always like to just start real quick, giving you 2 seconds about what we're going to talk about. So I think I'm one of the weird ones in the group of speakers here. I think I'm the only one that actually works for an equipment manufacturer. So I work for the golf company Titleist. I'm a full-time employee for Titleist, which makes me kind of a weird one. But my background is in all different types of things. I was an engineer one day, became a chiropractor another day, and now, like I said, now I sell golf balls for a living. So you never know what you're going to be when you grow up. But I'm also, like I said, one of the owners of FMS. These are kind of my world. If you ever want to see other stuff, come find us at those worlds. What I'm going to talk about today is what I spend my entire life doing, and that is working with athletes. I specialize in rotary athletes. I always like to make the joke, can you name a sport that's not rotary? It's really hard, like maybe darts or something. I don't know. It's hard. I think most sports are rotary in fashion. So everything I talk about, I apply to rotary athletes, but I think you can get rid of the rotary and just say training athletes. Like I said, my job primarily is diagnostics, right? So I'm not a trainer. I'm more of a diagnostician. But what does that mean? I always feel like if you've been in the business for a long time, you've probably had athletes come to you for a second or third opinion. Everybody been there? Like, okay, I've been to 3 guys or four people, and I just still don't think I'm getting what I need, and I want your opinion. In my experience, when most people come in for a second opinion, third opinion, fourth opinion, I've never sat down with a player, or it's very rare, and said, hey, the trainer you're with doesn't know how to train, or the chiropractor you're with doesn't know how to treat. I'm always going, I just don't know why they're treating that, right? So I'm never worried about like your skills as a trainer. I feel like, don't take this the wrong way, anybody can learn how to do a deadlift. Do we agree? I can teach high school kids how to do a deadlift, and they can show their friends how to do a deadlift, right? The question is should they be doing a deadlift, right? And what exercises, what drills? In my mind, the diagnostics is what separates the good from the great. So we've always spent a lot of time going, let's just make sure you're doing the right thing, because you could be the best trainer in the world, but if you're not training the right thing, it's not going to matter. They're not going to get better, right? So to me, I'm always like, all right, coming from the sports science world, right? And we're deep in the sports science world. ESPN ranked the sports science centers. We were ranked number 3 in the world for sports science, right? So we see golfers primarily, right? But we also have a baseball lab. So we have half the MLB teams send players out. We do diagnostics on them. We do a lot of the pre-combine for the quarterbacks in the NFL. So we have the NFL quarterbacks. We have baseball pitchers and hitters. Believe it or not, we have more pitchers than hitters. A lot of people think because we're golf, we just do hitters, but we actually have more pitchers than hitters. And then obviously we have our golfers, and then we have a program in tennis. We have our occasional ATP and WTA players that come out. Those are the primary ones that I work on, just if you want to know where my background's coming from. That's my bias there. So, but like I said, I think what I'm going to talk about should apply to all of these. So I always say there are 5 key things that I think has led to my success, and I've had a lot of success with athletes, and I think I attribute it to these 5 things, and that's what I wanted to share with you this year. The first one sounds like the dumbest one and the, no shit Sherlock type of one, but I feel like it's one of the biggest weaknesses that I see with trainers all over the world, right? And that is what I call speaking the language of the sport, right? How many of you are golfers? Okay, who's not a golfer? Okay, how many of you that are not golfers want to get into golf? Like you think, hey, it's good money, it's good business. You think, where do you live? Where is it? Michigan. That's a great golf area. Golfers that are trapped in the cold weather, and that's a great place to do it. So you're not a golfer, but you want to get into golf,
yeah.
Right?
I mean, not like seriously, just for fun.
Okay, so you've played a couple times before. right? But you're not an expert in golf, right? But let's say you decide you want to go become a golf fitness expert. So you put out, you go find like maybe put an email campaign out or something saying, hey, we're going to do a golf performance academy here, right? You can come in and get your game in shape and blah, blah, blah. And has anybody done that before? You go after this. You see if that market is available. And let's say I'm a golf coach in the area and I see that. And I see this ad and I'm like, man, I've always hoped that somebody would open up a golf performance center in this area, and now there's one here. I want to go. I want to go check it out. So what I do is I go to one of my students. I go to Ethan, who's my student, and I say, hey, I heard about this golf performance training center. We should go. I'll go with you. You want to go? And of course, he's going to say, sure. So I call you. Okay, I'm a local golf coach, and I call you, and I say, hey, I want to bring one of my students in. Would you let me come with my student? Of course you would, right? When you want to meet me, you'd be like, sure, and encourage it. So we walk in, right? So we walk in your place, and I'm like, hey, man, I'm so excited you're here. I've been waiting for a place like this to open up forever, and I'm so excited. I've been working with Ethan for like 2 years, and we're kind of frustrated because, you know, like most golfers, he's got a standard Varden grip, and when he takes the club back, he gets a little inside, it crosses the line, and then whenever that happens, it creates that early extension block. And sometimes I'm not sure if it's because of his hip or maybe it's his wrist mechanics. Like, what do you think? Now, you looked at me like, what the F did you just say, right? So what I'm saying is that if you say you're an expert in golf, right, but you can't speak the language, I know you're full of shit. In 2 seconds, I knew you were full of shit, right? Now, if I'm the golf coach, right, excuse my language, but I'm going, dude, you lied. You said this is a golf performance specialty place, and you lied that you knew golf. Well, maybe you lied that you're a good trainer, too, right? So what do I say to Ethan? I'm like, hey, dude, let's just be nice, like say it, but we're not coming back, don't worry, right? It's just, that's what happens. And I'm telling you, if you want to like get into a sport, I don't care what the sport is. If you're like, I want to be the best at gymnastics, right? But you don't know what a vault is, we have a problem, right? So it's really important to understand the language. Like, I was at a clinic I was in Dubai with one of our players. And I mean, we're talking like one of the most high-end gym places. And they're like, hey, we're going to start doing golfers. We'd love for you to bring some guys in. So we brought one of our players in there because I'm like, yeah, let's go check it out while we're here. So we go and check it out. And there's always the interview when you first see your clients, right? You sat down. And this guy was interviewing my player and was saying, you know, hey, tell me what you're doing, blah, blah, blah. And after he's done, he said to him, and I wrote this down, I think you need to improve your front side so you're stronger at contact. Is that good advice for a golfer? What's that?
I'm going to go with no.
Why would it be no?
It feels like all your knowledge.
Well, here's why it's not good advice for a golfer. Because I don't know what the hell you're talking about. I don't know what front side is. We don't use that word. And I don't know what contact is. We use impact. I don't even know what you're talking about. Like you say, like we talk about lead and trail, front side, back, that's baseball. Like somebody right away going, you obviously don't play golf. Right? I know it sounds ridiculous, but I'm just being honest. If no one said this to you before, the words you use will affect your credibility. Big time, right? And I'm always saying that if you want to be the best in a sport and you want to try, one of my first keys working with athletes is you have to speak their language, right? You don't have to be good. You don't have to be good. Like if I promise you, if I wanted to go work on hurlers, I don't know anything about hurling, right? But if I wanted to be good at that, I would actually go maybe take a lesson and understand like how you're supposed to hold this. Like I can't stand trainers that if you try to get in golf and you're like, hey listen, I think one of your problems is this, and you grab a golf club and you start demonstrating, I'm like, I can't believe how you're even holding this golf club. I can't even hear what's coming out of your mouth because it's so embarrassing what you're doing right now. You're embarrassing yourself, right? And that's what I don't want you to do, right? So I'm not saying you gotta be an expert in golf. I don't even care if you can hit a driver. You just need to be able to speak the language. Does that make sense? That's key number one, right? I think things like this. Anybody know what over the top is? If you don't, you don't play golf. You don't know golf. Anybody know what casting the hands is? If you don't, you probably don't play baseball, right? If early racket drop, flying, these are terms that most coaches would be like, oh, what do you mean? Of course. And they're going to assume that you know these things, right? Hey, I've got early racket drop. Okay, first of all, did you know that's the serve they're talking about? And did you know that has everything to do with disassociation from their lower body, from their upper body? Because as the trainer, you need to be able to train these things, right? Really, really important. Okay, like I said, I want to go through that quick, but in my opinion, that's probably the most important. It ruins your entire credibility before you even start, okay? Okay, number 2, this is, I always, in my hands-on, I talked about superpowers, right? This is my superpower, right? If you ask like, hey, how have I been successful in what I do? It's this, making the body-sport connection, right? I always say if you're in an elevator and somebody says, hey, what's your thing? Like, could you tell them what you do really quick? This is my thing right here, right? I literally feel like I'm one of the best in the world at making players and coaches understand the link between their body and their sport. That's what I do, right? Like, I want to teach you our philosophy real quick. It's so simple, so easy. I always say philosophically, if we're not on the same page, it's going to be a rough relationship, right? But if philosophically we're on the same page, we can work together, right? So I always say this, like imagine, not all of you are golfers, but here's 2 golfers right here, right? And I said to you, you've got to choose. You're going to train this golfer, but I need to know, do you prefer the right forearm 45 degrees to the sky, or do you prefer it straight up and down? Because those are different positions. The external rotation is very different here, right? And if you're going to train this, it might change our training. Which do you prefer? Raise your hand if you like the one on the left. Raise your hand if you like the one on the right. I see you guys. You guys are like, I don't know golf, I don't know crap, but that's Tiger Woods. That's what you're thinking right now? I understand. So let me quickly introduce you real quick. The guy on the left, anybody know who that is? That's Fred Couples. That's former #1 in the world. Was #1 in the world the second longest period of time to #1, who's Tiger Woods. Those are the 2 best players in history if you talk about #1s in the world, right? But nobody picked the first one, by the way, right? We're so style biased, right? We're like, hey, there's certain styles I like, certain styles I don't like, but you and I both know both of those work, right? Proven, those have both work, right? So our philosophy is this. If you, in your sport, take a video camera and you video camera somebody and then you put it up on a screen and you compare them to a professional. Have you ever done this before? Right? Who you compare them to is totally dependent on what you think is important in that sport, right? Like if I'm a pitching coach, right? If I put Ohtani up there, right, versus, I don't know if you guys know Lincecum, but I'm old, but you put 2 guys that look totally different, right? I would coach you totally different based on who I put up there, right? Those are called style-based coaches, right? Most coaches have style-based in their mind. There's a certain style they like because they think it performs the best, or the player they like the most is what they think is the most efficient, so they make everybody train like that. Does that make sense? Right? To me, our philosophy is very different. Our philosophy is this. If I go to baseball, okay, which bat position, which spine position, which right thigh position is better? What do all 3 of those guys have in common?
They're all playing in the ML.
They made millions of dollars playing baseball, right? Here's my philosophy. I don't care. Our philosophy is we don't care about style. I know that sounds crazy. We don't. I do not care about style. Who am I to say that you just didn't develop a new style that's going to be what all the kids are copying in 2-3 years? Here's our philosophy. We don't believe there's one way to hit. We don't believe there's one way to throw. We don't believe there's one way to kick. We don't believe there's one way to do anything. We think there's an infinite number of ways to become really good at a sport. But we do believe that there's one efficient way for you to throw, kick, strike, and it's based on what you can physically do. That's our philosophy. In other words, I don't care what your swing looks like. I just care that it's easy for you to do, right? If I say, hey, everybody take your hand like this. Take your arm and rotate as far as you can. Take your dominant side and rotate it back as far as you can. What am I dealing with here? Let me see. Anybody like, that's tight. Is that tight? I mean, look, okay, stand up real quick. Adrian?
Yeah.
Okay, you a golfer?
I play record.
That's a yes. That's a yes. Okay, so set up like you're going to hit a ball. Take your right arm like this, and now rotate it as far as you can. Look at his arm. Turn around, so that everybody can see it. See where it is? Cam, stand up. Golf posture. Take your arm. Now spin around so they can see this. Okay, so let me ask the question. Thank you, guys. So let's say you're Adrian's coach, right? And I'm going to take a video of you, And I want to show you what a good player can do. Okay, let's show of hands. Who would show him, oops, this clicker doesn't work. Listen. Who would show him Fred's swing? Who here would use him as the model? Who would show Tiger? All right, then you guys aren't understanding what I'm saying at all. Can he do what Tiger can do? Zero chance. He just showed you the farthest he can rotate is here. Tiger's forearm's vertical. He can't get his forearm vertical. Why would I show him that? Why would you show him that? Why would a coach tell you to do something you can't do? I mean, a horrible coach would do that, right? What I'm saying is, by the way, can he do what oh, that changed. Sorry. Can he do what Fred does? No problem. No problem. He can get his arm to 45 degrees. Do we agree? Why wouldn't I show him something that, hey, by the way, Cam, he became #1 in the world. Your shoulder can do what he can do. We got a chance. That's what I'm saying. It's like, I don't care what your swing looks like. I just care that you can do it physically. Because if you can do it, I can make you great at it. Does that make sense? You sure? How about with Cam? Who would I show Cam? Here's the thing. It doesn't matter. You can show me either one. He can do both. Guys that have really good physical abilities, they tend to have success with multiple coaches. Guys that don't. They only do good with coaches who have a style that actually matches what they can physically do. That's why a lot of these style coaches have success and failures based on, does that make sense? Okay, so our philosophy is always like, hey, I don't care what your body is. I can make you great. I just need to know what you can do and can't do, right? But to do that, I need to know the body-sport connection. I need to know how your sport mechanics and your body mechanics can match. And what I want to do is kind of show you examples of this, right? So, like, I always like to, you guys, any Simon Sinek fans? Pretty good. If you've never seen his TED Talk stuff, he's always talking about the why, right? He said people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. I kind of have something very similar for us. I always say you can show people what they do and how they do it, but they really need to know why. And this is what I'm talking about. This body-sport connection is, why do I throw like that? Why do I kick like that? Why do I my coach is telling me to do this, but it feels more comfortable to do this. Well, let me show you why, right? These are body-sport connections that you should be the experts in, right? This is your realm. Right? You just got to be able to make those connections. So let's do an example, right? From a screening standpoint, we talked a little bit about this in the hands-on. If you do an SFMA, anybody here SFMA certified? A couple. FMS? Okay, these are basic movement screens. Right? If you do a movement screen, like, hey, I want to know how well your hips can flex, or how your hips can extend, or can you rotate? These basic movements, they apply to everything. They apply to everything, like if you're a golfer, it's probably how you walk the golf course, how you get your bag out of your trunk, all that kind of stuff, right? I think those are really, really important. But there's also sport-specific screening. And this is kind of what I'm getting into here is the FMS, the SFMA is great. So like I said, I'm an owner of the company, and we use it all over the world. It's the most used movement screen in the world, right? Millions and millions of athletes have done the FMS. It's in the combines, all that stuff. But it doesn't tell me how you're going to set your club in golf, because it doesn't look at your wrists. I don't know if you can time disassociation between your upper body and your lower body. It doesn't look at these things. It doesn't look at things that are important for sports specific, right? So I always feel like to take it to the next level when you're working with athletes, you need to add your sport specific screening as well. Like, can they load their backside if they're a baseball hitter? Can they disassociate? Can they maintain posture? Do they have live and independent hands? These are things that coaches want to know beyond just their basic movements, okay? So let's do an example of one here. I'm going to call this maintaining posture. How many of you have played a sport ever? Okay, so how many of you had a coach at some point? Okay, almost all of you had a coach. So I'm going to get into probably the most common thing that I hear from coaches. One of the most common things I hear from coaches is you're losing your posture. Have you heard this before? Right? It pretty much applies to almost every sport. In some form or fashion, a coach might tell you at some point, hey, we got to work on your posture. There's something wrong with your posture. You're losing your posture. What the hell are they talking about? Here's what they're talking about, okay? So let's go to my sport first. Here's the #1 player in the world, Scotty Scheffler, right? If I put a line behind his butt, right, and at setup, and I say, Scotty, go ahead and swing the club, where is he at the top? Notice his butt's behind the line, right? As he starts to come down, now as he rotates, the left cheek's behind the line, and he comes all the way into impact, and he's still behind the original line. Everybody see that? Okay, so he literally got farther away from the golf ball, right? All right, if I show you from a 3D motion capture, right, and this is, like you're going to see this in multiple sports here. This is true in almost every sport. If I look at this, notice the right cheek in the backswing goes behind the line. The pelvis is an ellipse, it's not a circle. So as it rotates, the right side will go behind the line. And then on the downswing, as you start to unrotate or rotate open, the left cheek will go behind the line because you're rotating an ellipse. That make sense? Right? So as he starts to come down, again, this is all on motion capture. Now he's going to start to rotate. As he starts to rotate, that left hip, and they're putting some numbers up here, but come on. Here comes the left side, and left side gets back to where he was at setup, and now the left side rotates behind, right? Okay, let me show you. All right, we got 3-time major champion on the left from Ireland, Patrick Harrington. Right? On the right, we just have an amateur. Okay, I put the lines behind their butt, and I say, go ahead and hit a ball, right? Patrick, right cheek's behind the line, left cheek's behind the line. Most coaches would say, that's beautiful, you're maintaining your posture. And then we got this guy, right? And like most amateurs, all of a sudden there's daylight between that line and his butt, the top, right? So he's already moved closer to the golf ball. On the downswing, you can see like how much closer has he moved? I mean, it's almost a club head. By the way, if he doesn't do anything, he's going to hit the hosel. That's called a shank, right? Which is a very common bad shot in golf. They hit the hosel and it goes, and they call it a shank, right? So literally he's moved towards, now I always say there's this space in front of you, whether you're a hockey player, golfer, baseball hitter, tennis player, anybody who's striking, there's a space here, right? This is the most valuable real estate in rotary sports, right? The only thing that's allowed in this real estate, in this, right here, is the hands and the implement. Hands and the implement, right? That's what this space is for, hands and the implement. If you invade the space and lose posture, stand up. This is called early extension in golf. You're extending your hips early, forward. Where are your hands going? Right, so if I'm here and I go this way, where are my options? Where can my hands go? They can go this way or they can go around. By the way, both of those suck. It's really hard to hit the ball straight when your hands are going this way or your hands are going this way. It's like, it's really hard to time these. And the problem is usually you do one or the other or both, even worse. Sometimes you're like, I don't know what happened, it just went out to the right. Next thing you know, I don't know, it went left. It's like, it's really hard to play when you're not sure which way it's going, right? Well, why is it doing that? It's because you lost posture, right? You've invaded the space where your arms and the implement are going. Does that make sense? Here's Tony Finau, one of the best golfers on the PGA Tour, and you got Stacy Lewis, former #1 in the world on the right in the LPGA, right? I put lines there, and you'll see right cheek slightly behind the line, rotates beautifully. All the coaches are going, man, that's great posture, maintaining posture, right? Why Tony's one of the best in the game. Stacy, right cheek's behind the line, nice. And then, wait, oh, stop, don't, no. Oh, are you telling me a #1 in the world would do this? Yeah, even some of the best players in the world can lose posture, right? This is something that's very common. It's not just an amateur thing. This is something that she fought, and she had 2 misses, right? Drive her crazy when it happened, but had those 2 misses, right? Okay, so you say, well, that's golf. All right, well, let's look at baseball, right? So, got 2 players here, right? And I'm gonna put a line behind their butt. They're in that launch position. They've decided to swing, they're gonna start to swing. Watch, let's go, who are we going first? Watch Mark on the left here first. Watch the left cheek, behind the line. Notice that's an outside ball, too. Even with the ball's far outside, he's still going to the left. Here's Chris Bryant. He's basically just staying on the line. Inside ball staying on the line. Didn't even matter the pitch location, right? Here's Dodger Stadium. Notice their butt's moving towards third base, right? Moving towards third, creating space, leaving space for the hands. And by the way, if you ever want to find bad stuff, just go to Little League. We got everything in Little League, right? So here's Little League, and you kind of see the line there. There's the space. There's the real estate that we need to keep clear for the hands, right? Oh, dude, you just invaded the space. Now, where's his back gonna go? I mean, you got two options right here, right? You got this option or you got this option. He's picking this option. Now, if you go this way, imagine there's a ball coming at you. Imagine Major League, 100 mile an hour over here, and you're swinging like this. There's one point in time where these are gonna intersect. Whereas if I was able to swing this way, I can get on the line of the pitch and stay on the line of the pitch for a long time. I got one chance to connect here, which really you don't have any chance. You're going to strike out every time if you do that. And by the way, every jerk in the world, including me, who does this for a living, sees you doing that, will tell every pitcher in the Western Hemisphere to throw you inside, because now you have no chance. I can see you doing it from a mile away, right? That's death in hitting, right? All right, well, how about throwing? Go to pitching. Like, why would you ever do this in throwing, right? So, one of the fastest pitchers of all time on there on the right, Chapman, and then Ben Sheets on the left. Okay, all I did is I drew a line up from the middle of his foot, right up from the middle of his ankle, all the way up through his head, right? As he comes down, I want you to notice when they land, come on. As dumb as this sounds, the line is still somewhere inside his pelvis. Right? Somewhere in here. Huge area. Just gonna stay inside your pelvis, right? Line still over his belt or in his, right? Somewhere in here in the pelvis. Everybody see that? You're like, how would you ever not do that, right? But if I put a line up here, here's flat ground. Just doing warm-up throws. And of course, when he lands, line's still in the pelvis. Barely, it's touching, but it's still there. By the time the foot touches the ground, that's all we care about. And then we go to Little League. I can do this anywhere. I can draw the line anywhere, up from the middle of his ankle. I'm like, where are you going? You ever seen this throwing? It's like a plague out there. You should see some of the pitchers that are like this. So they're like, I see their head going backwards. I'm trying to keep their head over here. I think that's important. I'm like, well, why do you think their head's over there? Their head's over there because they've invaded the space. That's the most valuable real estate in rotary sports, right? They've lost their posture, right? Let's do our first body swing. So now you tell me what could cause that. Now let's bring it to our world. A coach comes to you and says, dude, my pitcher is early extending. My golfer is early extending. My hitter's losing space. They're moving closer. I'm not sure if it's technical or physical. What could cause this? Let's go to some body swing or body throw connections.
Muscle memory.
Say it again?
Rotation and hip rotation.
He's saying, what if they can't rotate? Okay, so what if the hips can't rotate? Would it make more sense that it's easier to do this? Of course, it's a great one. What else?
Muscle memory.
You said muscle memory. What do you mean?
They've been coached, so they've learned to do that for a long time.
You're saying they have a motor pattern.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's the thing. Motor patterns are developed around physical limitations. What if I told you that bad motor pattern is because of what I'm asking right now? What caused the bad motor pattern, right? Hip mobility is a big one that can cause this. What else?
On the center for injury.
Wait, what do you mean center of gravity?
Like where he stands in his feet.
Oh, where he starts. So you're saying if he sets up on his heels, he might want to go to his toes over here. Okay, that could happen. How about physical limitations? Bring it to your world.
Ankle mobility.
Okay, what about ankle mobility? What do you mean? What kind of ankles can move in all different directions. Which plane would be a problem? What's that? As in dorsiflexion? Would you agree that if you can't squat, would you potentially lose posture? Well, think about it. If you can't dorsiflect, if you can't squat, it's easier to go this way, right? People that can't squat, they lift their heels up, they go this way, right? People who can squat can do this. A good squat, my ass goes back, and I go this way. Bad squat, you can tell bad squat right away, right? This is invading the space. This is keeping the space. Yeah, ankle mobility could be a big problem. What else? These are the things I'm talking about. Being able to make these body sport connections, to me, is one of the keys to training athletes, right? Because when they come to you, when you show them that connection and you show the coach the connection, they're like, God, I never knew this. This is amazing. And if we can fix this, we can get them better. I'm going to show you some body sport connections for this right now that are none of the ones you just mentioned, right? What's that?
Core is a big one too.
What'd you say?
Core is stability.
Oh, core stability is a huge one. Again, I'm going to show you ones that still haven't been named. Okay, let's go through a couple, maybe not so obvious. Shoulder external rotation. Okay, this is a test called the 90-90 test. Kind of did it on my two guys here earlier, right? 90-90 test is I just say stand tall, take your arm like this, and rotate your arm back as far as you can, right? And we're going to have 3 buckets. You're less than your spine angle, equal to your spine angle, or past your spine angle, right? Those are your 3 buckets. Normal, you should be able to externally rotate past your spine angle, right? You should be able to get at least past 90 degrees. That's it. I don't even care how much, you should at least be able to do that, right? Then I get you in your athletic posture, and I do the same test. Okay? You want to try this real fast? Everybody stand up real quick. We'll just try this real fast. If you've never done this, just try. From here, rotate your arm, just see. Okay, now if you can't get past your spine, you already failed. Okay, you've got a shoulder external rotation problem. If you can get past your spine, great. Okay, that's part 1. Part 2, get athletic. Put your arm down, get athletic. Now put your arm out and test it again. You should still be able to get past your spine. If anybody here go, what the hell, I could do it standing, but I can't do it in posture? Anybody feel that way? Notice how many of you feel that. What the hell just happened? Okay, you can sit. What happened? Why'd you get worse? All we did, I just said bend over. How would that change your...
Gravity.
What do you mean, gravity?
Well, since you're hinging through the hips, basically, you don't have limited.
It's way easier than that. It's way easier than that, right? It is more against gravity. It is more resisted than help. But watch it. Just take your hand like this, right? Retract your shoulder blades. Just retract. Externally rotate. Come back over here. Now instead of retract, protract your shoulder blades. Protract, and now try and rotate. Which one's harder? Second one's harder, right? How many people, when they get in athletic posture, lose scapular stability? How many of you went like this and said, let me check, and you're like, oh, what the hell, I can't go now, right? We'd like to differentiate between shoulder mobility and scapular stability. Both of those can affect external rotation, right? So that's a real quick test to be able to differentiate between actual shoulder mobility versus scapular stability, right? Now, if you don't have this shoulder external rotation, let's watch a couple. Here's Hideki Matsuyama, former Masters champion from Japan. No problem, right? I say, go ahead and get in your posture. And he goes, no problem, doesn't change. That's what it should look like. And you check both sides, right? This guy here, this is at the Ryder Cup. I'm like, yeah, no problem, right? And posture. And no problem, right? This is John Rahm, one of the best players in the world right now. No problem, right? Say, go ahead and get in your golf posture. Wait a second, did that just get worse? Now it's equal. Everybody see that? Look at that, I'm like, he just lost a little scapular stability in his posture, right? Something he does a lot, something just good to know, right? Left side doesn't have a problem, right side he does. Check out this guy. Oops. Both arms look like that. Get into posture. And that's a brother from another mother right there, right? All right, why am I talking about this with losing posture? All right, one of the most important body sport connections that you need to know if you're going to work with athletes, any athlete that swings a stick, right, whether it's hockey, field hockey, golf, tennis, baseball, right, there's something we call planing mechanisms, getting the stick or the bat on plane. You want to get it on the plane. You want to get on this plane where you can meet the ball or meet the whatever you're going to hit in the right fashion. There are 3 primary planing mechanisms, okay? Imagine I don't have a club here. Imagine I'm holding a stick, right? No. Okay. Imagine I'm holding a stick. If I wanted to take the stick and I wanted to change the plane of the stick, I could do it with my wrists. Pretty easy, just by how I'm moving my wrists. Assuming I have wrist mobility, I could do this, right? That's one method. Another method is shoulder. I can do it with my shoulder. Pretty easy, I can change the plane that this bat or stick is rotating around, right? Everybody see that? I can change this. Other method is posture. I can do this. One of the most common things we see is people who have this, they don't have this, and you see them trying to get posture, trying to get on plane by losing posture, right? So coach is like, what are you doing? Like you're moving toward, you're standing up, and the player's like, oh, okay, I'm sorry, let me try it again. And as soon as they don't stand up, all of a sudden the implement's off plane. And the coach's like, but now you're swinging off plane. They're like, oh, sorry, let me get, and they get on plane, they lose posture, and then the coach yells, but you lost posture that time. And it's this stupid interaction where it's pretty obvious they can't do what the coach is telling them to do. Does that make sense? Very common, that physical restriction. So a lot of times when you see this loss of posture, I don't want you to think it's just hip mobility or it's just ankle mobility. Shoulder mobility can be a big one here too, right? I mean, you're going to see some messed up shoulders, right? That's standing tall. Just start thinking, like, what would her golf swing look like? By the way, if she's right-handed, would it matter if the left arm? By the way, when you swing, almost any implement, when you swing, there's rotation. When I get over here, this is external rotation. If I can't externally rotate, instead of them doing this, they usually do this. It looks like this. We call it chicken winging. You'll see this all the time, right? That's because they can't externally rotate over here, right? All right, one more on the losing posture. How about shoulder flexion? Raising your arms up. We call this the lat test, right? So basically, most people don't know this, but the lat muscle, is that playing? Maybe. The lat muscle, you can see it right there, is the only muscle, just to remind you, that attaches from your arm to your lower back. That's it, right? So if it's restricted, and let's say it could be muscle, it could be joint, it could be the fascia over here. If any of that's restricted, when you go to lift up, it pulls on the back. It pulls on it affects posture, big time, right? You'll see, like, what we do is we take our players, we sit them against a wall, one of my favorite tests, right? Pretend like there's a bench, sit against the wall, put your head against the wall, put your butt against the wall, shoulders against the wall, push your back flat, arms out. And I say, now, keeping your back pressed against the wall, raise your arms up. When you get to the point where you feel like you have to arch your back, stop, right? And this is what I said to John right here. I said, when you get to the point where you feel like your back's gonna, notice I put a golf club under his back. I said, as soon as you're gonna let go of that, you stop. And he's like, dude, I could go through the wall. Right, you see where, like, I put him on the side over here where he's like, the wall's like easy, right? This is another player on the PGA Tour, Patrick Rogers, no problem. This is a guy on the Champions Tour, Dickie Pride. I put him on the side of the wall just so you could see if the wall wasn't there, right? These guys will go. This is Arian Jutanugarn from Thailand, former #1 in the world in the LPGA, just to show you how flexible shoulder range is. And then there's your guy you're working on in the gym, right? Or right there, she lost the left arm, right? And then there's this guy. He's like, that's it. Okay, so imagine he's taking a golf lesson, right? And the coach is like, listen, golf is easy. All you got to do is turn and raise your arms, right? He goes, turn, raise your arms, turn, okay. Turn, raise your arms. Okay. And the coach is like, why are you leaning towards the target? He goes, what do you mean? He goes, no, I want you to keep your posture. Why are you standing up? He's like, oh, I'm sorry. Okay, so okay. And the coach is like, well, now you get your arms up. Oh, okay, sorry, I forgot. Okay. Like this? Well, now you're leaning toward, it's that stupid lesson I always thought about. I'm like, it's a joke. It happens over and over again. What do we call that, by the way, that lesson? I'm a pretty blunt guy. I call that shitty coaching. Because that's what it is, right? Telling a player to do something they can't physically do is shitty coaching. It happens every day, though, right? But it's your job to save this. You have to say to the player and the coach, hey, by the way, I know that's what you're supposed to do. You can't do that. Let me show you something. Let me show you this. And the coach will go, what the hell? You can't do that? But now when the coach sees that, what do you think the coach does now? How do most coaches react? No, when they look at it, they go, I mean, you would think it'd be, but they look at it and they go, man, I guess I gotta show you a different way to swing. Yeah, you think? Right? We only got a couple options. Either got to come to you and you got to fix me, or we got to coach around this. I mean, those are options. But at least now that's not shitty coaching. That's actually good coaching, right? But understanding these body sport connections are really, really important, right? How about one more? The wrist. I kind of told you, wrist is also a planing mechanism, right? Actually, wait, before I do the wrist, I forgot to say, that shoulder flexion. So remember, shoulder flexion can make me early extend because I'm trying to get the club up in the air, right? If I can't externally rotate to plane the club, I might lose posture, do this over here. And now, like I said before, if I can't set my wrists, I can't get the club over here, I might be doing this to try and get the club to lay back, right? That's the bat, the club, the stick, whatever you want to call it. So on the wrist, one of the most important ones here, and this is usually, most people who have this problem know they have a problem, they just don't know it's affecting their game as much as it is wrist extension. There's wrist extension, right? I'll show you this again. Here's wrist extension. By the way, if you watch this guy try and extend his wrist, he's sitting there talking because he's going, when I was 14, I had surgery and I had 3 screws in my wrist. He's telling you about his injury right there. What's normal wrist extension? How much should you be able to extend your wrist? Everybody take your hands out like this. Everybody take your hands out in front of you. I always kind of put my thumbs like this and I just say, from here, let me see you flex. You flex, let me see you extend. Anybody know you got a wrist problem? Let me see. Do you? Let me see. Dude, stand up. Check this out. Face me. Okay. Look at his left one. No, go extend. Okay, now face that way. Look at his right one. One of these does not look like the other. Everybody see that? Right? So now, if you're a right-handed player, are you a right-handed player? Okay. And you can't extend your right wrist, right? Typically what would happen is, because it's hard for him to do this, hopefully you've got great shoulder range. Do you have great shoulder range?
It's all right.
Okay, well, that's not bad. Because if he didn't have shoulder and didn't have wrist, oh, he's definitely losing posture. Or he's going to just be a horrible golfer. It's just going to be really steep, or a horrible baseball player.
It's the latter.
It's the latter? Okay. Well, these are important. Like I said, knowing these body sport connections is important. Okay, so that's an example of a body sport connection. And if we have time at the end, I'll do more of these, right? But that's a loss of posture one. Question, yeah?
So what point what point would the coach say, we need to change technique in a golf swing, or should we try to correct that to make the hand go up?
So I never say either or. We try and do both. We always coach around the problem while we're trying to fix it. So basically what a coach will do, I'll say to the coach, you and I both saw that he can't do it, right? So, okay, he's your problem right now. You got to figure out how to hit the shot. Give me a month, give me a week, give me whatever, I will see if I can change it. And all I'm doing is I'm working with the player trying to change it, and I'm getting back to the coach as soon as I can, going, I feel very confident we'll be able to change this, or it's not going to happen. You need to coach around it, and you just work together, right? Makes it easy. But at least that's smart coaching. That's not just, hey, everybody should swing like Tiger Woods. Sorry, Tiger Woods can't swing like Tiger Woods anymore. 26 surgeries later, you can't do it. I'm sorry, it's impossible, right? Okay, so key number 1, speak their language. Key number 2, make the body sport connection. Very, very important. I don't care what the sport is, there's a million of these body sport connections, you need to know them, right? Number 3, this one's a little different. This one, I call it follow the power. If you came to my hands-on, we spent some time talking about this, but I want to kind of show you some of the data here, right? To me, I feel like understanding their limitations helps me understand why they swing the way they swing, why they kick the way they kick. Understanding their limitations and knowing their power sources, well, now I'll bet my house I know why you swing the way you swing, why you kick the way you kick. Understanding somebody's power sources is very important for understanding why they do what they do, okay? So what I encourage you to do, no matter what sport it is you should have some type of power testing, right? You test power. I believe you should break the body into at least 3 pieces. If you want to do more, that's great. You should have a lower body test, a core test, and an upper body test. At least those 3, right? Like if you're like, I want an ankle and a hip one and fine, you can do more. But I'm just going to go lower body, core, and upper body, right? Now for us in golf at TPI, first thing we do is we test their power. We do 3 basic tests, just so you can see our 3 tests. Test number 1 is a lower body test. We do a vertical jump test. Here's John Rahm doing a vertical jump. I just use a jump mat. I say jump as high as you can jump, squat jump, anything you got, right? I let him just keep jumping until he can't jump any higher, right? Then we do what's called a sit-up and throw. We kind of did this in the class. We have them lay on their back, knees bent, feet flat. It's a soccer throwing from their back. And they sit up and throw, and we measure how far the ball goes in the air. This is a core power test for me. Vertical jump is a lower body test. The sit up and throw is a core test. It's like doing a crunch, right? We're doing a pull, we're doing a crunch. And what we're doing, like I said, is we're measuring from where the ball lands to where his chest is sitting tall. By the way, we use 4 kilos for all men, 2 kilos for all women. That's just what we've done forever. And we test local too, which we call global is the 4 and the 2. And local, we say we test 1 pound per 20 pounds of body weight. Just so you think about it, in golf, in tennis, in a lot of sports, in baseball, football, there's no weight classes, right? Big guys play against small guys, right? So there's no like, hey, I got to put you in your weight class. Hell, we're all competing against each other. So all the men get the same size ball, all the women get the same size ball, and we see who's more powerful, right? If I was in UFC or doing combat and we have weight classes, then I'd probably want to compare you to people your size. If you want to do that, you use a medicine ball 1 pound per 20 pounds of body weight, or 1 kilo per 20 kilos of body weight. It works out the same. So if you have a 200-pound player, use a 10-pound ball. If you have a 100-pound player, use a 5-pound ball, right? If you want to see how they compare to people in their weight class. Think a 300-pound guy should be able to express more power than a 100-pound guy. But that doesn't mean the 300-pound guy is good. If I want to compare him to what other 300-pound people could do, I got to use 1 pound per 20 pounds of body weight. Does that make sense? Okay, so, but if you're in a sport where there is no weight classes, we just use 1 weight for the men, 1 weight for the women. So this is basically our 4-kilo ball. That's a sit-up and throw. And then we do a chest pass for our upper body. Pretty simple. And again, by the way, I don't care what your power tests are. Make up your own power test, whatever, you just need data. Yeah?
What about for kids?
Same test. We do, it's 6-year-olds.
Weight, as far as the weight.
We don't change the weight. So if you're doing local, you do 1 pound per 20 pounds of body weight. But if I have a kid, I have a 9-year-old that wants to be a PGA Tour player, what I do is this, is I say, I know PGA Tour average is 23-inch vertical jump. Okay, that's just, I know where PGA Tour is. I go, you're 9, right? These guys are 24, okay? So I look at this, I go, at 9, if you're at 10 inches, and at 10 you get to 11, and at 12 you get to 12, we keep going, I go, hey, by the time you got here, you're on track. Or I go, oh dude, you're not on track, you're below. That's kind of how we do it, but we use the same weight. Does that make sense? I don't know if that's the right way, but that's how we do it. Yep. Okay, and then, just so you know, because data is the key here. If you're like, I work with gymnastics, I don't have the normal data. You'd have to go calculate that, right? Go figure it out. We had somebody in the hands-on said, hey, I do cross country. Do I really need to test upper body power? I'm like, I don't know. Let's get the best cross country people and test them, and you'll find out right away if it matters or not. You need to get your database, right? So for PGA Tour, 23, 22, 22, that's our norms, right? LPGA, it's 18, 18, 18. Kind of interesting that the feet and inches are the same numbers, but notice that the sit-up and throw and the chest pass, your core and your upper body, and almost every sport we've tested are identical. They should be balanced. Here's MLB right here, right? So MLB, they got much bigger tree trunks down here. 27-inch vertical, 23, 23. Still matched core and upper body. Right? That's a catcher from the Yankees. Right? So much bigger tree trunks in the baseball world. So watch this. Player comes in, tests their power, right? I have 2 potential outcomes. Sorry, this clicker is not behaving. I test your power and I go, man, that's incredible. You got an incredible engine. Versus, oh, we got some work to do. Players come to you first and foremost. Athletes come to you because they want to perform better. In most places, the faster, more powerful you are, the more money you make. It's just a direct, you throw faster in MLB, you're gonna make more money. You hit a golf ball farther, you're gonna make more money, right? You speed skate faster, you're gonna make more money in hockey. It's all about speed, right? So they all wanna go faster. If they're not fast, they wanna get faster. If you test them in the gym and you test their power and you go, dude, your engine's huge, but they're not fast, what's the problem? Do they need you or do they need coaching? Who do they need more? That's probably more of a technical problem or an equipment problem, right? You're going, dude, you've got a Ferrari engine, but you're driving like a Dodge Dart. Like, you already have a Ferrari. You came to me, you're like, I need to make it a Porsche. I'm like, a Ferrari should already go faster. Like, I'm sorry, not that I don't want to work with you, but there's something obviously wrong because your engine, you're just not pushing the gas pedal. Does that make sense? But that's really, a lot of times they don't know. They don't know why they can't hit it faster, right? Vice versa, if somebody comes in and says, hey, listen, I want to be able to throw faster. I'm a baseball pitcher, it's not going faster. And I check your engine, and I'm like, it's 20% below MLB average. right? I'm like, listen, you can go to, they're like, I've been to 3 pitching coaches, they just can't figure out. I'm like, this isn't a coaching problem. Your engine's not big enough. Does that make sense? This is a very important conversation to have with your athletes, especially when the engine's low, because now they need you, right? They're kind of maxed out. And the way I like to do this is this. I have this weird kind of conversation. I call it Greg's funny math, but here's my conversation I have with my players, right? Here's an example, okay? Player comes in, this is their numbers. They got a 24, this is a golfer, 24-inch vertical. They got a 20-foot sit-up and throw, and they got a 16-foot chest pass. Okay, where's their superpower? Lower body. Where's their weakness? Upper body. It just gets weaker as it goes up, all right? Everybody with me? Okay. So what I do is this. Whoops. I take the 3 numbers, get rid of the inches, get rid of the feet. This is Greg's funny math. Get rid of it. And let's just call it horsepower. I say to my player, I go, hey, I did all this advanced math. I just took away all this advanced math, and we calculated that your lower body is a 24 horsepower engine. Your core is a 20 horsepower engine, and your upper body is a 16 horsepower engine. Everybody with me so far? I go, so you got these 3 things. Now, I'm not sure, are you swinging like a 24 horsepower engine, or are you swinging like a 16 horsepower engine? I'm not sure what you're using. Are you using your legs, your core, or your upper body? I hope you're using your legs, because that's your most powerful part, right? So what I do is I take the 3 numbers, add them together, divide by 3, and I get the average. Their average power is 20. Okay, if you're doing Greg's funny math. Their highest is 24. Everybody with me so far? Now, this is where data is just, there's nothing better than data. We have millions and millions of data on players all over the world, right? Watch this. So this is a chart I show our players. This is what I show the PGA Tour. I have numbers at the bottom, from 12 to 32, right here. Right? And then I got these numbers from 130 to 220, right? And I say, okay, your average power number was 20, and I draw a line up. That's 166. Your maximum power number was 24. That's 184. I go, here's the deal. I'm an insurance adjuster. I'm going to try and insure you, right? I'm looking at how fast your car goes. Based on your power tests, right? Your ball speed in golf should be between 166 and 184. Okay, so the size of your engine should be able to produce a ball speed of 166 to 184. I go, what's your ball speed right now? And if they say it's 190, what do I say to them? You might want to call bullshit, but let's say it's real, right? Because by the way, you can go faster than what I'm going to insure. Because what I'm going to say to you is I go, listen, okay, here's the deal. Number one, you said you want to go faster. I'm not even going to insure what you're doing now, right? You're way beyond what we would insure. I think you're on broken time right now. Like, it's not if, it's when. You're going down. Your engine can't support the speed you're doing already. I promise you. I'll show you when they go down. We do have all the data on this. Their engine can't support this, right? Vice versa, if you say, I'm 148 miles an hour right now. I go, 148? You should be between 166 and 184, right? Now I'm going, okay, of course I'll insure you because you're not even close to where we're at. I go, but dude, you need lessons. Your engine should be able to produce way more speed, right? This is such an important conversation that we have with athletes where they just don't know. They don't know, is this a training problem or a technical problem? Coaches don't know if it's a training or technical problem. You can do this in your sport, and your coaches can't do this, right? They don't have the data. Can you imagine if you work with women's volleyball and you had this data, right, on every position? It's incredible the advantage you're going to have. The coaches want this. They want to know, like we talked about volleyball. I mean, could you imagine if you had this, right? Like we have the same thing for our LPGA. Like I can literally, with our data now, doing our power tests, I can predict your ball speed within 2 miles an hour. That's crazy, right? We're at the point now where I'm 99% confident I can predict your pitching velocity with pitchers doing the same thing, right? So I would encourage you to think of it this way. Think of like, here's an example. This is a female golfer that I worked on. Came in for an evaluation. This was a wife of a player, right? He was like, hey, I want to get her into golf. She's always out. She's never played before. Could you work on her real quick? So we do a screen. It's 12, 15, 16. What do you know about her already? What do you think her swing looks like? Somebody said all arms, right? Would it shock you if I showed you her swing? This is her swing. Let me show you from the face on. Now, even if you don't know anything about golf, sorry, that's just all upper body. That's just all upper body. Now, is that a good thing or a bad thing for her? That's a great thing for her. That's her only power source. Her lower body is a 12. Her upper body is a 16. If I was her brain, I'd be using my freaking upper body too. You with me? Right, so look at this. If you say, as a golf coach, lady, you got to use your legs, you got to stop using your upper body, she's going to suck even more. You with me? How do we fix this? What's that?
She's been watching Charles Barkley.
She's watching Charles Barkley, exactly. I mean, you got to understand, like, but knowing the power, doesn't it change your perspective when you go look at this? And I'm like, you know, hey, wait a minute, maybe this isn't technical. Maybe she just doesn't have an engine down there. Like, I understand why her brain's not using her lower body, right? So, again, what I'm going to tell you is I don't care what sport it is. If you work with hammer throwing, create your power benchmarks working with athletes, okay? How am I doing on time, by the way? I have 15 minutes? Is that all I got? Okay, we got to keep going. Yeah, hey, I'm last. We can go to whatever we want. Yeah, that's right. Okay, number 4. So number 3 was follow the power. Figure out where the power is, be able to track it. So number 4 key with athletes to me is measure their efficiency. Remember I told you our philosophy. Our philosophy was pretty simple. I don't have a technical, like style-based philosophy. I don't care what your swing looks like or your kicking mechanics look like. I just care that what you're doing is efficient for what you can physically do. Does that make sense? What's efficient? So if I can't look at your style to see if you're good or bad, I'm telling you I don't care what your style looks like. As long as you're efficient and you can do it, I'm happy, right? So efficiency to me is 3 things. Number 1 is you can repeat it, right? You have command. You know where the ball is going to go, and you can maximize power with the least amount of effort. You know, if you hit a baseball and hit a home run and you felt like you didn't swing, that's efficient. If you hit a home run but it took every ounce of energy to do it, that's not very efficient. Right? The 3 things for efficiency is you've got to be able to repeat it. Can't just, I did it once in practice, but I can't ever do it again. You got to be able to repeat it. Number 2 is I have to have control or command. I need to know where the ball is going. And then number 3 is I want to maximize power with the least amount of effort. If you can do those 3 things, I could care less what your mechanics look like. And neither should you. They could be number 1 in the world, right? So the question is how do I know if you're efficient? I know if your style looks like Tiger Woods by comparing you on video. That's style. But I don't know, is Fred Couples efficient? Was he efficient? He was number 1 in the world. Yeah, he was efficient, right? So how do I know he's efficient? Why would I tell Fred not to change? How do I know this? There's only 2 ways in the world to do that right now, to measure efficiency. This is something that I'm not expecting you to be able to do, but I think you should know about it. Because if you're working with athletes, most athletes are getting this type of testing done now, right? So the first thing that we do, obviously we have multiple labs at our facility. This is our golf lab here, right? When a player is swinging in our golf lab, they're standing on force plates, and we have motion capture cameras all around them. A lot of times we put the little retroreflective markers on them. You can kind of see the cameras behind, the force plates they're standing on. All those things they're doing is this. They're not just giving me a better snapshot at their style. They're actually measuring efficiency of how efficiently this athlete is creating power and transferring power through their body. And if it's very efficient, I could care less what it looks like. A lot of people think like, hey, I'm going to get 3D so I can create an avatar and I can show you a cool, that's just a cool way of looking at style. That's not why we do this. We do this to measure your efficiency. So I wanted to show you how we do that, right? So what we do is we basically put them on the 3D cameras. We put these markers all over you, right? These little retroreflective markers. And you swing. We recreate you on the computer, right? We create like a little avatar. And now we can look at every part of your body. One of the most important things we look at is called angular velocity. We look at how fast your body parts are spinning, right? So for rotary athletes, again, I don't care, I've done this with 12 sports, right? I look at how fast your lower body is rotating, how fast your trunk is rotating, I look at how fast your arms are rotating, and the implement, right? We do those 4 things. We're looking at those, right? Because there is a certain sequence, a certain timing that the most efficient players do, even if their styles look totally different, right? It's called the kinematic sequence, and I want to show you. Yeah, actually, we don't have time. I'm going to go forward right here. This plays over and over again. Imagine, here's a golfer, here's a golf professional, right? Let's say when he starts to swing, why these aren't playing over and over. When he starts to swing, You see that yellow wave going through his body? Imagine when he starts the swing, energy starts from the ground, right? You start this, it's like the handle of a whip. The energy starts to transfer through his body, through his lower body, through his trunk, through his arms, to the implement, and hopefully gets to the club or the end of the club at contact or at impact. Does that make sense? Right? What we found is that you can take two players in any sport, they can look totally different in how they do their mechanics, but the best of the best, they all transfer energy the same way, even though it looks different on a camera. So we actually like to look at how they transfer energy. It's called your kinematic sequence. And all we're doing is we're measuring how fast these are rotating, because if you think about it, if the best players in the world, the energy starts here, the lower body should rotate fastest first. And then the trunk should rotate fastest second. And the arms should go third, and the club or the implement should go fourth. So the first thing we look at is we go, what order are your body parts rotating at, and are they in the right sequence? Because if they're in the right sequence, I don't know if I care what you're doing, right? I've had so many people like, hey, I'm the club champion at my club, and everybody laughs at me because I have the ugliest swing, and we get them on here, we're like, yeah, but you're perfectly efficient. They can laugh all they want, you're still going to take their money. Right? Keep doing this. That's really, really important. Way more important than style is, are they efficient? Right? So we look at this, what's called the kinematic sequence. Now that's important. That's the kinematic sequence right there. You can kind of see the red's the lower body, green's the trunk, purple is their arm, blue is the club, and I can see energy's jumping, and I can see the times it's doing. And we do all this advanced analytics, all just to say, don't worry about where your club is, you're good. Or do we need to change something? Okay? Now, that's your normal sequence: pelvis, trunk, arm, implement. That's for striking, okay? So lower body, trunk, arm, hockey stick. Lower body, trunk, arm, baseball bat. Lower body, trunk, arm, tennis racket. That's for any striking sport. Does that make sense? How about throwing? If I go to throwing, same deal. Here's what the best throwers, and throwing, by the way, could be serving. That's a throwing, right? It could be baseball, pitching, anything, football, quarterback, right? Here's the kinematic sequence with throwing. Lower body goes first, energy transfer, trunk goes next, the elbow starts to extend, and then the arm starts to rotate. That's the normal kinematic sequence with the best throwers in the world. Right? And again, we look for this to see if they have this. Could care less how you do it. I don't care where your arm slot is. I just care you're doing this in the right order, and then you'll be efficient in what you're doing. Anybody with me on that? After we look at that, we look at what's happening on the ground. We're standing on force plates. How many of you have had any experience with force plates? Okay, last year I did the whole talk on ground reaction forces. We talked about force plates last year because I feel like it's, in the last 5 years, it's been the biggest change in most performance programs is ground force. I want to show you there's the kinematic sequence and then there's the kinetic sequence, and I want you to feel this because it'll change the way you do medicine balls if you understand this, okay? The kinetic sequence is this, right? So here's a player standing on force plates. Now I'm looking at how they're actually producing force into the ground, okay? So to make this really, really simple, because there's lots of graphs, and people are like, what the hell? I don't know what the hell's going on, blah, blah, blah. I'm gonna make this really easy. There are 3 ways you can push the ground, okay? You can push lateral. Let's all do this together. Stand up real quick. I'm telling you this is so important for training if you understand this. Push right to left. Push right to left. Okay, that's lateral. That's one way you can push. Let's go heel to toe. Push forward, push backwards. Heel to toe. I can push forward or backwards. And then there's just straight up and down, vertical. Is that simple? There's 3 forces you can produce on the ground. Lateral, front to back, up and down. What do speed skaters do? Stay standing, stay standing. They go lateral. Sprinters. Heel to toe, maybe a little vertical, right? Volleyball blocker. Vertical. What does a golfer do? Notice it's not as easy, right? Your brain goes, that's a little weird. I don't know. Rotation's a little weird, right? It's not just, certain sports it's very obvious. I'm going one way or the other. The answer for golf is yes, they do all 3, okay? So rotary athletes do all 3, right? Now, you can push right to left, front to back, up and down, or you can twist. Those are called torques, right? And we can measure this too. So let's do the 3 twists. You can twist this way. Okay, I call that twist. You can twist this way. I call this rock and roll. That's frontal plane torque there. I can also twist this way. I call that bend, right? So there's bend. Watch me. You've probably seen some golfers that do this, that rock and roll. You've probably seen some golfers that twist. And you've probably seen, I showed you some golfers that bend earlier, right? You can do all of these too, right? So you can push, you can twist in all different directions. We measure what you're doing underneath the ground. To me, the reason this is important, you guys are going to feel what the best rotary athletes do in the world. I'm going to show you here in a second, so I want you to stay standing. I look at this because it's the only way I can step inside your body and feel what you're doing. As a coach, would it be cool if you could step inside your player, your athlete's body and feel what they're doing so you could coach them better? And go like, what the hell? I can't believe you're doing that. The only way I can do that is with force plates. Motion capture, I can put you in the same position, but it won't feel the same. If I show you how you do it, it feels the same. So let me show you what the best golfers, baseball players, tennis players, what their kinetic sequence is, the sequence of their forces, okay? Let's all get ready. Just pretend like you're a golfer. Let's do golf. Let's go to the top of your backswing. Okay, now, here's what they do. The best golfers in the world is they push lateral first. Let's laterally weight shift first. So they shift to their lead side. Now, I'll turn the same way as you guys. So they push to the lead side. Now what they do is they take the club and they shallow the club by rocking. They rock. Because they rock. Now they got to get the club in front of us. They twist, and then they jump. Okay, watch me. Best golfers in the world, they go lateral, rock, twist, jump. That's the normal kinetic sequence. Let me see you do it. Now here's what your player does. Okay, let's go to the top. Let's go to the top. Okay, first thing they do is they twist. Right? Then they go lateral, right? And then they try and rock. They usually hardly ever jump. That feel different?
Yeah.
Now do the right one again. Lateral, rock, twist, jump. Lateral, rock, twist. Now, okay, now sit. I just want you to feel that, right? So, lateral, whoop. So, lateral, rock, twist, jump. The fancy names are horizontal torque, frontal plane. I like using third grade language, right? This is called horizontal plane torque. I call it twisting. This is called frontal plane torque. I call it rock and rolling, right? Let's make it easy, right? So what they normally, if I put all these in there, they go lateral, they rock, they twist, they bend, and then they jump this way. If I was going to put them all together in there, that's what the best players in the world do, right? I'm telling you, if you're like, I hate technology, I hate all this stuff, I don't know another way to show you how to step inside your player's body and feel what it feels like to be able to coach them. I used to think if I had a player that was swaying, moving too far out here, I was like, oh, I know what that feels like. I didn't know there was 400 ways to sway. I didn't realize you could sway by pushing too hard with from the outside of your left foot. I didn't know you could drag from the inside of your right foot or push from your right heel, from your right. It's totally different. And the way I coach them is different because now when I put a medicine ball in their hand, I want to vomit sometimes when I watch some people training in the gym. I see some of my golfers going to the gym, and I see you doing medicine balls like this. And I want to vomit. I'm sitting, I'm like, they're never coming back if I see them do that. Because that's not the kinetic sequence. That's twist, I don't know, that's leaning the other direction, and there's no, I'm like, that's not what our players do at all. Our players are doing, they're doing this. They're doing this. They're not doing that. Are you with me? They feel totally different. Last year we went through all the medicine ball throws showing you how to do it horrible and how to do it right. So the key to doing medicine ball power training is understanding the kinetic sequence. Right? We actually test all of our exercises now to see what kinetic sequence does it have. I can't tell you how many exercises we've thrown out because we're like, dude, that's not the right kinetic sequence. Okay? So that's your 3D force plates, all that stuff. That's why we use all these things, to feel like, are you transferring energy? What's your kinetic sequence? What does it feel like so I can train you better? Okay? And then the last one, I know we're out of time, but last one here is what I spent most of our hands-on talking about, right? And that is the biggest mistake I see trainers make when working with athletes. And that is they go through and you do the assessment. Most of us do assessments. And what are you looking for? You're looking for the weaknesses. Oh, your ankle mobility sucks. Oh, you got no hip power. And you make the training program about their weaknesses. The story that we hear all the time, I got a professional player that comes in, we test them, they've got this incredible power, superpower, and they got their weakness. They get out there on tour and they say, dude, this weakness is killing me. I've got to make this better. And they put all their attention here. And what they do is this gets better, but because they're not paying attention to this comes down. Now everything's average and now they're not on tour anymore. Right? Because they forgot why they were on tour. It was because of the superpower. So what I'm going to tell you right now, if you're working with athletes, your first goal is to figure out their superpower. We spent time trying to figure out the superpower this morning for different people. Figure out their superpower, and that should be at least 60% of your program. Right? At least 60% of your program. Your weaknesses, I've seen players where 90% they're working on weakness, and I'm like, you're gone. You're going to be gone in a year. Yeah.
Just clarify, all right, you found the players play superpower, upper body, but her efficiency.
Great question. What's his superpower?
What's that?
What's his superpower? That's the #1 player in the world. That's Scotty Scheffler. What's his superpower? Anybody golfers here? No?
Mental game?
It's pretty good, but that's his superpower is he's the best iron player on the planet. I mean, literally, if you ever watch him hit an iron, you're just like, what? It's insane. Like can literally hit an iron better than anybody on the planet right now. All right, what's his superpower? All right, that one's easy, 3-pointers, right? What's his superpower? I mean, it might not even be with the bat, by the way. Like, right, we go through like, right, some people are a little different. What's his superpower? What I'm trying to say to you is that every player has a superpower. Your job is to figure it out. Like, why I say to my players, in my interview with my players, the first thing I say to them is I go, why are you on tour? And they look at me like, what do you mean? I'm like, you know what I mean. Why are you on tour? What makes you Justin Thomas? Why does everybody know your name? What are you good at? Well, now how many of them know? I'd say a lot of them have an idea. Are they always right? No, but I think a lot of them are like, dude, I'm one of the best putters. Yeah, I'm really good. Or, man, my lower body, or my hand-eye coordination, it's unbelievable. My mental game, man, it's so strong. But like they usually kind of know. Yeah.
How about like a high school kid or middle school kid?
Everybody's got a superpower, right? Like, why? If I told a story in my hands-on, I'll tell the story here too. I have a friend named Lanny Basham. He's one of the top sports psychologists in the world, right? He tells a story when he was young. His dad and him never had a great relationship, right? But he wanted the love of his dad more than anything. And the only thing they liked in common is they watched the Olympics, right? So as a kid, his only memories of his dad was watching the Olympics. And forever, because of that, he wanted to be an Olympian because he wanted to impress his dad. That was his whole thing. But every sport, he was the worst. And he tried every sport. He said by the time he got to 13, he was at junior high, or high school, I can't remember if it was early high school or late junior high. He said, I broke down. He goes, I'm a 13-year-old boy. I started crying in my math class, right? And he said, the math teacher walked up and was like, Lanny, what's going on? And he's like, it's too long to talk about. And the math teacher made him hang out. And after everybody left, he was like, tell me what's going on. He was like, told him the whole story. I've been trying to impress my dad since I was 6 years old. I want to get to the Olympics, but I suck. I'm short, I'm fat, I'm slow, blah, blah, I can't do it. And he's like, let me ask you a question, Lanny. This is what the math teacher said. He said, can you sit still really well? And he goes, yeah, I'm really good at sitting still. And he goes, when you try out for these sports, like, did you get nervous? Like, did your heart go crazy, or can you control your heart rate? He goes, well, I'm never nervous. I just suck. He goes, so you control your heart rate and you can sit still? He goes, yeah. He goes, what if I told you I have a sport that I actually coach that you can go to the Olympics? And he goes, well, I'd say I'm interested. 14 years later, he won the gold medal in rifle shooting for the U.S. in the Montreal Games, right? Everybody has a superpower. It might be sitting still and controlling your heart rate, but there's a superpower you can find on everybody. I really believe that. Like, you can find the superpower. And if you haven't found the superpower, either you're not looking close enough, or and maybe they're in the wrong sport for this, right? I'll give you one more story on this, because I think it's really, really important for you guys. At the USOC, at Colorado Springs, every 4 years, there's a coaching conference where coaches would come and we share. It's any Olympic sport, like golf's an Olympic sport. The coaches come and we share ideas. More importantly is we try and scout other players. Imagine a luge. Okay, let's say we have 3 players we're going to send to do luge in the Olympics. The 4th guy's pretty freaking good, right? Or we have 4 javelin players, only 3 are going to go. That 4th javelin player is a pretty awesome athlete. So a lot of times the sports will go, I wonder if that 4th player would be good at another sport. We could use him because he's an incredible athlete, right? And trying to say, hey, can I grab one person from another sport and take them over here? They had a keynote speaker, and I'm sitting next to the U.S. bobsled coach, right? And this big Texas boy comes out. He leads off the conference. He steps up on the podium. He's got a gold medal around his neck. He goes, hey, morning coaches. He goes, thanks for having me here. He goes, I was invited to tell my story, so I'm here to tell my story. He goes, I'm a Texas boy. I grew up playing football. He goes, went to the University of Texas. Dream was Dallas Cowboys. He goes, I went to the NFL Combine. He goes, we've all had that day. I choked. He goes, it was an absolute disaster. Every test I blew up, and I knew I ruined my chances, and I knew football was over. He goes, I sat down on a bench was putting my gear in my bag, and to add injury to insult, he goes, that guy, and he pointed at the guy next to me, the U.S. bobsled coach. He goes, that guy over there walked up to me and said, son, I know you're disappointed, but I liked what I saw. I'd like you to try out for me, and he handed me his card. He goes, he looked at it, and it said, name of the coach, head U.S. bobsled. He goes, bobsled? And he goes, I'm from Texas, I've never been on snow. And the coach said, I don't care, I'd love for you to try. We have tryouts in Lake Placid next month. And he's like, okay, and he said he threw it in his bag and just was like, okay, the guy's just trying to be nice because I sucked. It was horrible. And he goes home. Now he's living with his brother. He goes home and he tells his brother the story, and the brother's like, well, you're going to go, right? And he's like, I'm not going to Lake Placid. I've never even seen snow before. And he's like, but the guy out said he saw something good in you. And he's like, he was just trying to be nice. He said his brother would not let him not go. And he just nagged him. Finally, he said, fine, I'm going to go. But he goes, I'm telling you right now, if two things don't happen, I'm going to turn around and walk away. Because when I walk in there, if the coach doesn't recognize me, I'm leaving. And number two is, if he recognizes me, I'm going to say, what did you like? Because there's no chance he liked anything, and he better have a good answer or I'm leaving too, right? So he said, I show up at Lake Placid, I walk into this big reception banquet, the coach is across the room, the coach sees me walk in and beelines to me. He's like, I can't believe the guy freaking remembers me. He comes over and he's like, hey, I'm so glad you're here. And he's like, man, coach, I can't believe you remember me. He goes, I got to ask you a question. The combine was the worst day of my life. What did you like? He goes, yeah, I know you weren't happy. He goes, but I liked your 40. He goes, my 40-yard dash? He's like, yeah. He goes, but I came in last. He goes, I don't care about that. He goes, I liked how you started. He goes, well, I'm always the first for the first 6 steps. He goes, but then the guys lap me. And he goes, son, I need you to take 5 steps, get your fat ass in the sled, and I'll get you a gold medal. And he goes, true story, right? Everybody has a superpower, right? Awesome story, and it was like standing ovation to this guy, but it was really cool. He's like, I didn't know the bobsled only needed 5 steps. I'm really good at that. So I encourage you, as my final thing is figure out what their superpower is, right? It could be mobility. We talked about that in the hands-on. It could be power, right? It could be vision. It could be endurance, right? It could be coordination, whatever it is. But take the superpower, and your job is not only make it a superpower, make them number 1 in the world, right? Don't focus on their weaknesses. Don't try and make it all about, we got to get rid of these weaknesses. Instead, how many superpowers do you need to be number 1 in the world? 1. That's all you need, right? Give me the one superpower, make it the best, and I'm telling you, your athletes will thank you. Everybody does the opposite, and it drives me crazy, right? Do not lose your superpower. If you ever want any more information, okay, maybe not, hold on. This is how you get in touch. Here it is. There's my contact. Thanks for spending an hour and 15 minutes with me, guys.